The desert was silent under the twin moons. The sand spread wide like a golden ocean that never ended. A single rover moved slowly across the dunes, its engine making a low hum in the night. Inside the rover sat a young man named Rian. He was an explorer from Earth, traveling alone across the planet called Arian. The air outside was dry, the wind was cold, and the stars above looked closer than ever before. Rian had been on Arian for 2 months. He came to study the minerals in the desert, hoping to find something useful for the colony he worked for. Life on this planet was lonely, but Rian did not mind. He had lost his family years ago in a mining accident on Mars, and since then he had lived a life of wandering. He trusted machines more than people and preferred silence over noise. His only company was the soft hum of the rover and the blinking lights on his wrist device. That night, Rian stopped near a large rock formation. He checked his instruments and sighed when he saw the readings. The rover's power core was running low again. He needed to stop and repair the damaged connection before sunrise. He parked the rover beside a dune and stepped outside. The cold air hit his face, sharp but clean. Above him, the sky glowed with countless stars, more than he had ever seen on Earth. For a moment, he forgot his tiredness and simply looked at the sky. Then he saw it. A bright streak of light cut through the stars, burning fast across the horizon. It was not a meteor. It moved too straight, too controlled. The light grew larger until it exploded silently far away. A shockwave of red light spread through the clouds. Rian covered his eyes and waited for the brightness to fade. When he looked again, he saw a faint glow in the distance, a fire burning deep in the desert. His scanner flashed a warning, showing strange energy readings coming from that direction. Rian hesitated. He knew it could be dangerous. It might be a military ship or a crashed probe leaking radiation, but his curiosity won. He packed his tools, started the rover, and drove toward the glow. It took him almost an hour to reach the crash site. The sand was scattered with debris, some pieces still smoking. The air smelled like metal and burnt ozone. In the middle of the wreck, half buried in sand, stood the broken body of a silver ship. Its surface was covered in strange symbols that shone faintly blue under the moonlight. Rian's heart raced as he stepped closer. He had never seen technology like this. It was smooth, graceful, and alive, as if the metal itself was breathing. He climbed onto the side of the wreck and looked through a cracked window. Inside he saw movement. Something or someone was there. He found an opening and carefully entered the ship. The interior was dark and silent except for the slow crackle of damaged circuits. Lights flickered weakly along the walls. The air was thin and smelled of smoke. Rian moved slowly, holding a small lamp in one hand. He followed a trail of strange silver blood that led to the control room. There, lying beside a shattered console, was a woman unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin glowed faintly with a pale blue color, like moonlight reflecting on water. Her hair was white as snow, and her eyes were closed. She wore a torn suit of armor made of light materials that shimmered faintly when his lamp touched them. She was breathing, but very weakly. Each breath came with a soft tremor. Rian knelt beside her and checked her pulse. It was faint, but there. He looked around the cabin and saw that part of the wall had crushed a control unit, which must have hit her. He quickly removed his oxygen mask and placed it near her mouth, letting her breathe some air. Her chest rose slightly. Then, to his surprise, she opened her eyes. They were bright silver, glowing softly even in the dim light. She looked at him with confusion and fear, whispering something in a language he did not understand. The sound was soft and musical, but it faded quickly as she lost strength again. Rian felt panic rise inside him. She was dying, and he had no idea how to help. He checked his medical scanner. It showed her body temperature dropping fast, her blood pressure almost gone. The scanner identified her blood composition, but the results made no sense. It showed elements not found in human DNA. Her blood was losing its energy and her organs were shutting down. Rian looked at her again. She was trying to speak, lifting her hand weakly toward him. Her fingers glowed faintly as if she was trying to reach into his thoughts. For a moment he felt something strange in his mind, and a flash of sadness, fear, and pain. He could feel what she felt, as if her emotions were entering his heart. Then it was gone and she collapsed again. He had to act quickly. He could not let her die. But what could he do? He was just a human explorer with a few tools and some medical supplies. Then an idea came to him, a desperate one. Years ago, he had read about alien species that could absorb genetic material to heal themselves. Maybe her kind had a similar ability. Maybe his blood could help her survive. It was a crazy thought, but there was no time left to think. He took out a small transfusion tube from his kit. It was meant for field medical use. He connected one end to his own arm and the other to hers. Her blood was silver. His was red. And when they met in the tube, the liquid turned faintly purple and began to glow. At first, nothing happened. Then Rian felt a strange pull inside his chest. The glow from the tube spread across both their arms, forming soft patterns like moving light. The air in the room started to vibrate. His vision blurred for a moment and he saw flashes of something. A city made of crystal towers, a vast sea of stars, and 1,000 voices singing. It was as if his mind had touched another world. He gasped and looked at the alien woman again. Her wounds were closing. The blue light in her skin grew brighter, and her breathing became steady. Slowly her eyes opened once more, and this time they looked directly into his. He heard her voice clearly in his head, not through his ears, but inside his mind. "Why would you do this?" the voice asked softly. Rian was too shocked to answer. He could not speak. The voice in his mind was calm but filled with emotion. Then it faded and the woman closed her eyes again. The glowing lines on their arms began to fade as well, and the vibration in the air stopped. Rian disconnected the tube and fell back, breathing heavily. He felt dizzy, as if his energy had been drained, but the woman was alive. Her chest moved steadily and the color had returned to her face. He stayed beside her for a while, watching her breathe. Outside, the wind howled across the desert, carrying sand into the wreck. The night was almost over, and the first light of dawn began to rise. When the sun touched the horizon, Rian looked at his arm and noticed something strange. Faint blue lines now glowed beneath his skin, tracing the same pattern he had seen on hers. He felt a pulse inside them like a second heartbeat. It did not hurt, but it felt alive. He could sense something, a distant presence in the back of his mind. He did not understand it, but he knew it was connected to her. He looked at the alien woman again. She was still unconscious, but peaceful now. Her body looked stronger, her breathing calm. Rian placed a thermal blanket over her and sat beside her, exhausted but unable to leave. The desert outside was silent again, as if nothing had happened. Yet Rian knew that everything had changed. Somewhere deep inside him, something new had awakened. He could feel it. A link. A faint connection that tied him to the stranger he had just saved. He did not know her name, her world, or why she had crashed here. But he knew one thing. She was alive because of him, and now their fates were joined. Rian looked at the rising sun and whispered quietly, "Who are you?" The wind gave no answer, but in the silence of the morning, he thought he felt a soft whisper inside his mind, a single word spoken in a language he did not know yet somehow understood. "Thank you." And in that moment, Rian knew that his lonely journey across the desert was only the beginning of something far greater than he could ever imagine. The morning light shone through the cracks of the broken ship. The heat of the desert began to rise again and the air shimmered above the dunes. Inside the wreck, Rian sat near the alien woman, his eyes tired but alert. He had stayed awake all night, afraid that she might stop breathing again. He checked his wrist scanner. Her pulse was steady now. Her body temperature was normal. Whatever strange bond had formed between them, it had saved her life. Rian looked down at his arm where faint blue lines glowed under the skin. They moved slowly like soft waves of light. He tried to ignore it, but he could feel something inside him, a quiet rhythm that did not belong to him. The alien woman stirred slightly and opened her eyes. They glowed with a soft silver light, brighter in the daylight. She blinked several times before her gaze focused on Rian. For a moment she looked confused, then calm. "You are awake," Rian said softly. She looked around, her expression full of fear and curiosity. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Then Rian heard her voice, only not through his ears, but inside his mind. "Where am I?" the voice asked, gentle and smooth like water. Rian froze. He looked at her lips again. They were not moving. The voice was inside his head. He swallowed hard. "You are safe," he said slowly. "Your ship crashed. I found you." The woman closed her eyes for a moment as if trying to remember. "The attack," her voice echoed in his thoughts. "They followed me through the storm." Rian frowned. "Who followed you?" She looked at him and spoke again, her voice now stronger in his mind. "The Karn. They hunt my kind." My ship was trying to escape them, but they found me even here." Her tone carried pain and sadness. Rian could feel it as if it were his own. It made his chest tighten. He took a slow breath. "My name is Rian," he said, hoping she could hear him. "I am human. From Earth." For a few seconds she said nothing. Then a faint smile touched her lips. "Human?" she repeated as if tasting the word. "You are the one who gave your blood." Rian looked down at his arm again. The glowing lines pulsed slightly. "I had no other choice," he said quietly. "You were dying." The woman sat up weakly. Her movements were slow but graceful. She touched her chest where the wound had been. There was no scar. Her body had healed completely. "Your blood changed me," she said. "I can feel it. My cells have adapted to your structure. I should not be alive, but I am." Rian rubbed the back of his neck, unsure how to reply. He had no idea what any of this meant. He was not a doctor or a scientist. He had acted on instinct. "What is your name?" he asked. She looked at him for a moment before answering. "Alira," she said. "Daughter of the Solani house." Rian repeated the name softly. Alira. When he said it, a small spark of warmth passed through his mind. The bond between them seemed to respond to her name. Alira tilted her head, studying him. "You feel it too," she said. "The connection. Our minds are linked. I can sense your thoughts when they are strong." Rian looked uneasy. "You can read my mind?" "Not all of it," she said calmly. "Only what you feel deeply. The bond was formed through your blood. It cannot be broken now." Rian stood and walked a few steps away, trying to understand what had happened. He was connected to her in ways no human had ever been connected to an alien. It was strange and frightening, yet something about it felt right. Alira slowly rose to her feet. Her body was still weak, but she stood tall and proud. Her armor shimmered faintly, powered again by her inner energy. She looked around at the wreck of her ship. Her eyes softened with sorrow. "This vessel was my guardian," she said quietly. "It carried the hopes of my people. Now it is gone." Rian looked at the broken panels and twisted metal. "Maybe we can fix it," he offered. "I know a bit about repairs." Alira smiled faintly. "You are brave, human, but this ship was made from living alloy. It cannot be repaired by your tools. Still, we can try." They spent the day exploring the wreck. Rian gathered tools and checked the systems. Alira used her energy to restore a few circuits. Slowly, small lights began to flicker again in the walls. The ship was not completely dead. It still had a heart that could beat again. While they worked, Rian asked her about her world. She told him stories of Selen, a world of silver oceans and tall crystal towers. Her people, the Solani, lived in harmony with light itself. They drew energy from the stars and shaped it into everything they built. But then the Karn appeared, dark beings that fed on light and life. The Solani Empire began to fall, and Alira had been sent to find help among distant stars. She had never reached her destination. Rian listened quietly. He had traveled to many worlds, but none sounded as beautiful or tragic as hers. "So you are a princess," he said. Alira looked away. "That title has little meaning now. My people are scattered. I may be the last of my line." Rian wanted to comfort her, but he could not find the right words. Instead, he handed her a small canister of water. She accepted it with a soft nod. As she drank, the blue glow beneath her skin dimmed slightly, as if her energy was stabilizing. Later that night, they sat near the wreck's open doorway. The two moons rose again, casting silver light across the sand. Rian checked his wrist device and saw strange readings. The energy field around them had changed. It was almost like the planet itself was reacting to their bond. Alira seemed to sense it too. "The connection between us is stronger than I expected," she said. "I can feel your heartbeat when I close my eyes." Rian placed a hand over his chest. "I can feel something too," he admitted. "Like a second pulse that is not mine." She nodded slowly. "Our lives are tied now. If one of us dies, the other may not survive. You have given me a part of your life, and now it flows through us both." Rian looked at her carefully. "Then we have to make sure we both stay alive." For the first time since the crash, Alira laughed softly. The sound was light and beautiful, like wind through glass. "You speak as if survival is easy," she said. "But the Karn will come. They will follow the signal of my ship. They never stop until all light is gone," Rian frowned. "Then we have to leave before they arrive." She looked out at the stars. "The ship cannot fly yet. The core is damaged. It will take days to repair. Then we fix it, Ryan said firmly. Together. Alira turned to him with a calm but curious expression. You would help me even when it puts your life at risk? Ryan met her eyes. I already did. I am not stopping now. For a moment they were silent. The wind blew softly, carrying the sand around them. Alira lowered her gaze. You are strange, human. You gave your blood without knowing who I was. You stay beside me when you could have walked away. Why? Ryan thought for a moment before answering. Because you were dying, and I could not watch someone die when I could do something. It does not matter if you are human or not. You needed help. Alira smiled again, a gentle smile that carried warmth. Then perhaps your kind is stronger than I was told. The Solani believed humans were only children among the stars. But your heart is not the heart of a child, Ryan shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe I am just too stubborn to leave someone behind. Alira looked up at the sky again. The stars reflected in her eyes. Then your stubbornness may be what saves us both. The night grew colder and they returned inside the ship to rest. Ryan lay near the control seat while Alira sat quietly, her eyes closed. The ship hummed softly, responding to her presence. Ryan felt his eyelids grow heavy, but before sleep took him, he felt something touch his thoughts, a soft whisper in his mind. Thank you, Ryan, Alira said without speaking. He smiled faintly in the dark. You are welcome, Alira. The ship's faint light wrapped around them as they slept. Somewhere in the sky, far beyond the reach of their eyes, a signal pulsed in the void. The Karn had detected the energy of the Solani ship. The hunters were already on their way. Ryan did not know it yet, but their time in the desert was running out. What began as an act of kindness was turning into a fight for survival, and the start of something far greater than either of them understood. The sun rose again over the red desert, painting the sky with shades of gold and orange. The broken ship shimmered faintly in the heat as Ryan worked outside, carrying pieces of metal toward a small repair station he had set up beside the wreck. His hands were rough and dusty, but he worked with focus. He wanted to finish fixing the main energy conduit before nightfall. Inside the ship, Alira sat beside a glowing console, her eyes half closed as she focused on repairing the power core through her own energy. She looked stronger than before. Her color had returned, her movements were graceful again, and the blue light within her skin pulsed with steady rhythm. Yet she knew something dark was coming. She could feel it like a shadow pressing against her thoughts. Ryan entered the ship carrying a toolbox. The outer circuit is stable now, he said. If we connect it to your power lines, maybe we can get the ship flying again. Alira nodded. It will help, but the main reactor is still damaged. Without it, we cannot leave this planet. The Karn may have already sensed the signal of my ship. Ryan wiped the sweat from his forehead. Then we work faster, he said. We have no time to waste. As they worked together, Ryan noticed how the ship responded to Alira's presence. Whenever she touched the walls, they seemed to glow brighter. He also noticed that the bond between them was growing stronger. When she focused her energy, he could feel it inside his chest, a warm vibration that matched his heartbeat. Sometimes he even caught small glimpses of her thoughts, flashes of shining cities, great towers of light, and endless skies filled with music. At first, he thought it was imagination, but Alira confirmed it. Our minds share a path, she said. When I think strongly, you can see pieces of it. When you feel something deeply, I can sense it too. Ryan looked down at his glowing arm. Then you must know how afraid I am that we will not finish in time. Alira smiled faintly. Yes, but I also feel your determination. It is stronger than your fear. That is why you are still here. Before Ryan could answer, his wrist scanner beeped sharply. A red light flashed across the small screen. He frowned and tapped the display. Something is moving in the sky, he said. It is coming fast. Alira stood quickly, her expression tense. The Karn, she whispered. They have found us. Outside, a dark shadow crossed the desert. A small swarm of black drones descended through the clouds, moving in perfect formation. They were sharp and metallic, shaped like blades, their surfaces absorbing sunlight instead of reflecting it. Ryan grabbed his pulse rifle from the rover and loaded the power cell. Alira stepped beside him, raising her hands. Blue light began to form around her fingers. Stay close to me, she said. Their weapons feed on energy. You must not let them touch you. The first drone dived from the sky, firing a beam of red light. Ryan rolled behind a rock and fired back. The beam from his rifle hit the drone's wing, sending it spinning into the sand. But 3 more replaced it, circling like vultures. Alira raised her hand and a wave of blue energy burst from her palm. It struck the air like thunder and shattered 2 drones instantly. The third one tried to escape, but Ryan shot it through the center. It exploded in a flash of sparks. More drones arrived, filling the air with red beams. The sand burned wherever they struck. Ryan moved from cover to cover, firing carefully. Alira stood in the open, glowing with bright light as she created a shield around them. The shield flickered with every hit but held firm. Suddenly, one of the drones fired a concentrated blast that broke through the shield. The beam hit the ground near Ryan, throwing him backward. His ears rang and his rifle flew from his hands. The heat of the blast burned his arm and pain shot through his body. Alira cried out and fell to her knees. The bond between them made her feel his pain as if it were her own. She closed her eyes, focusing her energy toward him. Blue light covered his wound, cooling the burn. Ryan opened his eyes and saw her struggling. "You are hurt too," he said, trying to stand. She shook her head. "The link shares pain as well as strength. When you bleed, I feel it." He picked up his rifle and aimed at the nearest drone. "Then we end this together." Alira stood beside him, light blazing from her hands. She formed 2 glowing orbs and launched them into the air. They exploded among the drones, sending shockwaves across the sky. The last few machines tried to retreat, but Ryan shot them down one by one until the desert fell silent again. The battle was over. Smoke rose from the sand and pieces of metal lay scattered around them. Ryan lowered his weapon and looked at Alira. Her energy had dimmed and she looked tired but alive. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Yes, but the Karn know we are here now. They will send more. Stronger ones." Ryan looked at the wreck of the ship. "Then we finish the repairs tonight. We cannot stay here any longer." Alira hesitated before speaking. "The reactor will not last without a core crystal. It was destroyed in the crash. I cannot replace it," Ryan thought for a moment. "What about your power?" "The energy that flows through you." "Can it work as a core?" She looked at him in surprise. "It could, but it would drain my life force. If I use myself as the core, I might not survive." Ryan shook his head. "No, there must be another way." Alira stepped closer and placed a hand on his arm. "You have already given your blood to save me. I will not let your gift go to waste. If my power can keep us alive, then I will use it." Ryan met her eyes. "We will find another solution. I am not letting you die." Before she could reply, the ground trembled slightly beneath their feet. A low humming sound filled the air. Ryan looked up and saw a dark cloud rising on the horizon. It was not dust. It was a massive swarm of Karn drones heading straight toward them. "They are coming," Alira said. "Thousands of them." Ryan clenched his fists. "Then we have to move now." Together they ran inside the ship. Ryan jumped to the control seat and began activating the systems. Alira stood behind him, channeling her power into the energy core. The lights in the cabin flickered, then steadied. The engines began to hum faintly. Ryan looked at the readings. "We have power," he said. "Then we fly," Alira replied. The ship shook as the engines came to life. Dust and sand lifted into the air. Outside, the swarm grew closer. Red lights filled the sky like fireflies of death. The ship's hull groaned under pressure as it struggled to rise. "Hold on," Ryan shouted. The ship lifted slowly, rising above the dunes. Beams of red light shot toward them, striking the hull and burning holes in the metal. Alira focused all her energy into the shield, her hands glowing brighter than ever. The bond between them pulsed with heat. Ryan felt her pain, her strength, and her fear all at once, but he did not stop. With one final burst of power, the ship broke free from the ground and shot into the sky. The swarm followed, but the speed of the ship was greater. Ryan steered toward the upper atmosphere, his hands steady on the controls. As they passed through the thin clouds, the darkness of space opened before them. The planet below grew smaller, the stars above grew brighter. Ryan looked at Alira. She was breathing heavily, her face pale. The glow around her body was fading. "You did it," he said softly. "We are safe," she smiled weakly. "For now. But the Karn will not stop. They will follow us across the stars." Ryan placed his hand over hers. "Then let them. We will face them together." Alira looked at him with tired eyes. "Together," she whispered. The stars reflected in her silver eyes as the ship sailed through the darkness. The bond between them glowed softly, connecting 2 hearts from different worlds. Neither of them knew what awaited beyond the next sunrise, but one truth was already clear. The moment Ryan gave his blood, he had become part of something greater than himself. a bond that no power in the universe could easily break. Far behind them, the desert burned under the shadow of the Karn swarm, but above in the silent sky, a small silver ship carried two souls bound by light, heading toward a future written in the stars. The black expanse of space stretched endlessly around them, dotted with stars that shone like scattered diamonds. The small silver ship hummed softly as it sailed through the void, carrying Ryan and Alira far from the burning deserts of Arian. For the first time, Ryan allowed himself a moment to breathe. The roar of engines and the shadow of the Karn swarm were behind them, at least for now. Alira sat quietly at a control panel, her hands glowing faintly as she manipulated the ship's systems. Every movement she made caused the metal and lights to respond, as if the ship itself recognized her presence. Ryan watched her from across the cabin, noticing how her body moved with elegance despite her exhaustion. The bond between them pulsed gently, a quiet rhythm he could feel inside his chest. "You are stronger than I imagined," Ryan said, breaking the silence. Alira turned her head slightly. "It is not strength alone," she said softly. "It is survival. And now it is the bond we share. You are part of this now, Ryan. Your blood carries more than life. It carries connection." Ryan frowned. "I still do not understand it fully. I feel something strange inside me, but I do not know what it is." Alira's eyes glowed softly. "It is the life force of two beings merging. You gave me your blood and I have absorbed it. Part of you lives in me and part of me lives in you. It is a bond beyond life itself." Ryan nodded slowly. He did not fully understand, but he felt it. At times he could hear her thoughts faintly, like a whisper in his mind. Other times she could sense his feelings before he spoke. It was both comforting and unsettling. He had always lived alone, and suddenly, his life was connected to another in a way he could not escape. "Do you feel it too?" he asked quietly. Alira smiled faintly. "Yes, and it is more than I expected. I can sense your courage, your fear, your memories. They are part of the bond now." For a moment they were silent, listening to the gentle hum of the ship. The stars outside seemed endless, each one holding the promise of something new. Alira finally spoke again. "We must reach the Solani fleet. They are still fighting the Karn, and without my presence their defense will fail. We have little time." Ryan looked at the navigation screen. "How far is it?" "Several star systems," Alira said. "It will take days to reach them even at maximum speed. The Karn will be aware of our presence and may try to intercept us again." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then we must prepare." "We cannot let them catch us unprepared," Alira nodded. "Agreed, but you must also rest. The bond shares strength, but it also shares fatigue. If one of us collapses, the other will suffer as well." Ryan leaned back in his seat, letting his hands rest on the controls. He thought of Arian, of the desert and the sand that stretched endlessly. He thought of the crash, of how he had given his blood without hesitation, and of how that single act had changed everything. "I never thought one choice could mean so much," he said quietly. Alira looked at him with a soft expression. "Every choice carries weight, Ryan, but your choice saved me, and it saved something greater. The bond we share is stronger than you realize. It may be the reason the Solani survive." Ryan felt a warmth inside him. He was not a hero. He was just a man who acted without thinking, and yet somehow he had become part of something extraordinary. As the hours passed, the silence between them was filled with small conversations. Alira told Ryan more about her people. She spoke of the crystal cities of Ceylon, of oceans that shone with silver light, and of towers that stretched into the clouds. She spoke of the Solani culture, where knowledge and art were valued as much as power. Ryan listened, fascinated. "It sounds beautiful," he said. Alira smiled softly. "It was, but now the Karn seek to destroy all light. They consume energy, life, and hope. The Solani fleet is struggling to survive. Without me, they may fall completely." Ryan nodded, feeling a new determination grow inside him. "Then we will make sure they do not fall. I will help you." Alira's gaze met his, and she saw the courage and resolve in his eyes. "Your kind is strange, human. You fight not because it is your war, but because it is right to fight. That is why the bond is strong. It is not only blood, but also heart and courage that tie us together." Ryan looked away, feeling slightly embarrassed. "I just do what I can," he said quietly. For several hours, they worked together, maintaining the ship, navigating through asteroid fields, and preparing for any encounter with the Karn. Every time the ship passed a dense belt of rocks, Alira used her energy to shield them, while Ryan steered with careful precision. They learned to move as one. When one acted, the other instinctively responded. At night, in the darkness of space, Ryan noticed a change in the bond. He could see small flashes of Alira's memories, her childhood in the palace, the silver towers, her people singing. It was like looking through a window into another life. Alira noticed him staring. "Do you see?" she asked softly. Ryan nodded. "Yes, I can feel your past. It is beautiful and sad at the same time." She smiled faintly. "It is not just memories. It is also hope. The bond lets you feel more than I intended. You understand more than you should." Ryan placed a hand on his chest. "It is not a burden. I am glad to feel it." As they traveled, the Karn continued their pursuit. Occasionally, Ryan's scanners would detect enemy ships far in the distance, their dark forms gliding silently among the stars. Each time, Alira would prepare defensive energy, and Ryan would adjust the ship's path. They avoided most of the dangers, but the threat was constant. One evening, as they passed through a field of glowing asteroids, Alira paused and looked at Ryan. "There is something I must tell you," she said. "The bond we share is not only physical or mental, it is also spiritual. We can share our strengths, our powers, but it comes with risk. If one of us dies, the other may not survive." Ryan looked at her with determination. "Then we protect each other. No matter what," Alira's eyes softened. "I know, that is why I trust you. The bond has grown stronger than I anticipated. It will guide us through the trials ahead." The rest of the journey was long and challenging. They passed through strange nebulae that glowed with green and purple light, navigated around giant gas planets, and avoided black holes that twisted space around them. Each time a danger appeared, they relied on the bond, sharing instinctive understanding and courage. Through it all, Ryan began to feel a change within himself. He could sense energy fields in ways he never had before. He could feel Alira's emotions more clearly and anticipate her movements. The human body and mind were limited, but the bond had unlocked something new. Alira noticed the change too. "You are adapting," she said one night as they rested in the ship's observation deck. "The bond is strengthening you. You can feel more than a human should." Ryan looked out at the stars. "Then we are stronger together." "Yes," Alira said softly. "Together we can face anything. The Karn may be relentless, but the bond is stronger than fear or death. It is a force of life itself." They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars pass. The journey had taught them patience, trust, and courage. Each moment brought them closer, and each danger made the bond stronger. As they approached the coordinates of the Solani fleet, Ryan felt a surge of excitement and fear. The fleet was the last hope of her people, and the Karn were closing in. But for the first time, he did not feel alone. Alira was beside him, and the bond gave him strength beyond anything he had known. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. Alira nodded, her silver eyes glowing. "Yes, together we face what comes." The ship passed into the last stretch of space before the fleet. Lights appeared in the distance, tiny at first, then growing into hundreds of ships shining with energy and hope. The Solani were waiting. They had fought bravely, but many ships were damaged and their numbers were dwindling. Ryan took a deep breath. "This is it," he said. Alira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, the moment we have prepared for has arrived. The Karn will not see our arrival coming. We carry not only hope, but also power beyond their understanding." Ryan nodded, feeling the bond pulse through him like a heartbeat. He was ready. Together they would face the storm and fight for life itself. The Solani fleet stretched across the stars, a shining array of silver and blue ships, each bristling with energy and weaponry. From a distance, it looked like a field of living light drifting through space, but the beauty could not hide the danger. Many ships were damaged, and alarms echoed across the fleet as the Karn approached. Ryan sat at the controls of the small silver ship beside Alira. The bond between them pulsed steadily, a quiet rhythm that connected their minds and hearts. He could feel her fear but also her courage, and it gave him strength. Alira could sense his determination, steadying her own power. Together they were a single force, ready to face whatever came. "They are closer than expected," Alira said, her silver eyes scanning the fleet ahead. "The Karn flagship is here, and it controls the rest of their swarm. If we do not strike it, the fleet may fall," Ryan swallowed. "Then we strike it together," Alira nodded. Yes, but the path is dangerous. The flagship is protected by energy shields, and their weapons are unlike anything you have faced. You must rely on me as much as I rely on you. He took a deep breath. I am ready. The small ship glided through the void, weaving between the larger fleet ships to avoid drawing attention. Ryan steered carefully, feeling the bond pulse through him with every movement. It was more than a connection. It was instinct. When Alira concentrated her energy, he instinctively knew how to adjust speed and angle. When he felt the slightest danger, she reacted even before he could speak. Hold tight, Alira said, her hands glowing brighter than ever. Blue light streamed from her fingertips, forming a shield around the ship. It shimmered like liquid metal. They approached the Karn flagship. It was enormous, dark and jagged, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. Red energy pulsed along its edges, and thousands of smaller drones orbited around it like vultures. The flagship's main reactor glowed like a dying star. This is it, Rian said quietly. We go now or risk losing the fleet. Alira placed her hand on his arm. Remember, our bond is stronger than fear. Trust in it, trust in each other. Rian nodded. I do. The ship surged forward, passing through the gaps in the fleet toward the flagship. Karn drones swarmed to intercept them, firing beams of red energy. Alira raised her hand, sending waves of blue light to destroy the nearest attackers. Ryan fired the ship's weapons, each shot precise and measured. Together they were unstoppable. One drone slipped past their defenses and aimed a beam directly at Alira. Without thinking, Ryan pushed her aside and took the blast himself. Energy burned across his arm, but the bond pulsed and Alira felt the pain instantly. She cried out, her power flaring in response. Blue light exploded from her body, engulfing both of them and destroying the drone in a flash of brilliance. Ryan gritted his teeth, holding his position. I am fine, he said through the shared bond. Alira's glow dimmed slightly, her energy drained by the intense burst. You pushed yourself too far, she said softly. The bond shares strength, but it also shares limits. We must be careful. Ryan nodded, feeling the warmth of the connection. I know, but we are close. I can feel it. We can do this. The flagship's energy shields blocked their path, glowing with red intensity. Alira's eyes narrowed. We need to strike the core simultaneously. That is the only way. If we fail, the fleet will be destroyed. Rian took a deep breath. Then we strike together. No hesitation. Alira raised her hands, her glow intensifying until it filled the cabin. Ryan felt the power flow through him. A surge of energy unlike anything he had ever known. Their bond amplified her strength and his courage, merging them into a single force. The ship dove toward the flagship, weaving through defenses as Alira channeled her energy outward. Ryan adjusted the course, dodging energy beams and collisions with the drones. Every movement was instinct, every decision guided by the bond between them. As they neared the core, the flagship's defenses became overwhelming. Beams of red energy struck the hull, threatening to tear the ship apart. Alira raised a shield, but it could only protect them for a moment. Rian looked at her. Now, he thought, sending the command through their shared bond. Alira focused all her energy into a single point, releasing it in a concentrated blast of blue light. At the same time, Rian fired the ship's remaining power cells directly into the core. The combined force struck with a blinding brilliance. The flagship shuddered, and the energy shields flickered and collapsed. Inside the flagship, the power core began to destabilize. Red and blue energy clashed in a storm of light. The bond between Ryan and Alira pulsed violently, connecting them as their combined power surged through the enemy vessel. The flagship's hull cracked and groaned. Alira and Rian felt the energy rippling around them. The bond carried them through the shock, keeping them alive as the explosion spread from the core outward. The blast consumed the flagship in a wave of light. The smaller Karn drones were destroyed in the shockwave. The red energy vanished, leaving the Solani fleet free from immediate danger. Rian and Alira drifted in space, their ship shaken but intact. Blue light still pulsed faintly around them, a reminder of the bond that had saved them. Alira leaned back, breathing heavily. We did it, she said softly. The fleet is safe. Ryan looked at the stars around them, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and relief. We did it together, he said. I could not have done it alone. Alira reached for his hand, their fingers brushing. And I could not have done it without you. The bond you gave me, your courage, your life, and it has become more than power. It is hope, Rian smiled faintly. Then we carry hope together. The Solani fleet responded to their victory with signals of gratitude. Their ships repaired damaged vessels and regrouped. The tide of the war had shifted. For the first time in many cycles, the Solani could see a future where light could endure. Alira looked at the glowing fleet, her eyes reflecting the silver light of her people. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The Karn will return eventually, but now we have the chance to rebuild. The bond between us is a new force for life and courage." Rian felt the warmth of the bond flow through him. "Then we continue," he said. "Together we face whatever comes next." Time passed as the fleet organized. Repairs were made and new strategies were planned. Ryan and Alira worked side by side, their bond giving them strength and insight. The Solani marveled at the human who had merged his life with the princess, creating a new power unlike any they had seen. Ryan and Alira spent moments alone as well, looking at the stars. Sometimes Rian would see glimpses of her past, her memories of the crystal cities and the oceans of light. Other times Alira felt his experiences, his lonely journey across planets and deserts and his search for meaning. The bond made them understand each other completely. One quiet evening, Alira turned to him. "Ryan, even if your body were to leave this world, your spirit would remain with me. That is the power of the bond." "Life and hope are now intertwined." Ryan nodded, feeling the truth in her words. "Then even if we face death, we are never truly alone." Alira smiled, her silver eyes glowing with calm strength. "Yes, the bond is beyond life itself. And as long as it exists, we carry each other forward." The fleet continued its journey, moving toward a safe system where the Solani could regroup and rebuild. The darkness of the Karn threat still lingered in the distance, but Ryan and Alira knew they were stronger than before. They had faced impossible odds, fought together, and survived. The bond they shared was now a force that could withstand anything. Rian looked out at the stars, feeling a quiet peace. "We made it," he whispered. Alira placed her hand over his through the shared bond. "We did, and we will continue to make it, as long as we are together." The small silver ship sailed onward, carrying two souls bound by courage, hope, and life itself. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, each one a new promise, each one a new chance. And in the quiet pulse of the bond, they both knew that their story had only begun. Somewhere in the vast expanse of the universe, a faint heartbeat continued to echo, a reminder that life, courage, and love could overcome even the greatest darkness. Together, Ryan and Alira faced the future, ready to carry the light across the stars, forever bound beyond life itself.